I don't think that it's
Mm.
going to be some sort of magic email sequence or specific like ad type or something like that that's going to bring folks to you. What those things do is they bring someone to you who's in those conditions right now. Like part of how I like to think about it is that when someone's working with a person, like it's like this window that's like opening and closing. And no, I don't need advice. The window's closed. Oh, I might need it. And it opens a little bit, but they're not really ready. Then it closes again. And that might be when they first start to check you out. And like you want to like when that door is fully open, when they see that you're going to actually probably save them more money than they're spending on you, those are going to be some of the times the folks really want to step forward.
If you're an advisor still chasing referrals, this playbook takes you from who are you to where do I sign with funnels that actually pass compliance. Welcome back to the Enhanced AI Partners podcast, the show where leaders share how they scale in fast changing industries through people, process, and pragmatic AI. I'm Yohan Mejia, founder of Enhanced AI Partners, and we help fintech and SaaS leaders scale smarter with AI powered outbound content and workflow automation so they grow faster without adding headcount. Today's episode is From Awareness to Advocacy: How Financial Advisors Build Trust at Scale. My guest is Jake Wagner, founder of 4FP Agency, a firm helping financial advisors attract and serve clients through compliance friendly, data driven funnels. Jake's systems are used by hundreds of planners and coaches, and his latest platform, 4FP High Level, bakes in 6 types of AI for marketing that actually converts. Jake, welcome. I'm excited to dive in.
I'm excited to be here with you, Johan. Thanks for inviting me to the show.
It's a pleasure. Now let's set the stage with what's broken in advisor marketing, and then we'll layer in automation, AI, and some real examples from your side. So let's start with what has been the single biggest mistake advisors make at the top of the funnel?
Well, I'd say that it's that they look at referral marketing as the top of the funnel, as one of the biggest things. The thing is like referrals are great. It's often where your best clients are coming from. And also, it's inherently unpredictable and unreliable. So it makes it so that it's very hard to actually turn that in any sort of data-backed decision. Doesn't mean don't do it. You definitely want to have it be a part of everything, but top of the funnel is what actually happens the relationship before that.
And if there was one asset this month to fix it, what would that be? Meaning lead magnet, webinars, maybe some new testing on some new ways of attracting new customers. What would you start with if a client was only doing referrals?
um I'd still start with the website. Honestly, everything else that you're mentioning are important, crucial levers to make sure to be aware of, but your website is still basically the hub of your online presence, and anybody, whether it's a
Mm,
referral or a prospect or whomever, one of some of the first things they're going to do is they're going to come in and they're going to search about you on Google and different social networks. They're going to find your website, find your LinkedIn profile. And so when someone gets there, how is it that you're showing how you're different than that competitor that they're looking into that might be down the street or across the country or whatever? But we want to have it so that there's a way so that when someone gets to the website, if their only follow-up action is to just give you a call, like the numbers speak really loudly on this, that less than like 2%
mm,
of folks actually pick up the phone and call. And so you want to have some
yeah.
way that you can actually entice them into like being a known quantity for your firm, where you know their first name,
Mm,
last name, email, and phone number, ideally. So that way, like you got them to your firm and you can show them through your actions and, possibly by leveraging the power of automation as well, how you're different than the folks down the street and how you're going to take care of them in a better way than the other firm that they're looking at.
it's actually pretty nice. And how do you pressure test, compliance friendly versus toothless content?
Well, I mean, so what's not going to be compliant is performance reporting. And the funny part
Mm,
is especially in the digital marketing world, there's a lot of desire to be showing percent numbers, changes, really like having specific data on this is how many more people we're serving, whatever have you. And like Versus that, I actually think that the best way to do any of these next steps is to have an ideal client avatar. Part of what you're
I
doing
see.
when you do that is that you're creating a fictional person, and a fictional
Mm,
character is not compliant. And also, what you can do, and why you want to think about it as an avatar and not as a target market, is that you want to know what keeps this person up at night. You want to know what their driving factors are. You want to be thinking about, how important their family is, how they're reacting to the news, and how they age year over year the same way that we do. And a part of what happens inherently in that message is that you are not providing any details about a specific client experience. And the other thing that you're
mm,
doing is you're not leaning into those numbers. What you're doing is you're showing people exactly how you're going to change their lives by them being your client. And those
I
are
see.
the things that folks really care about is, am I going to be protected? Are you going to take care of my spouse? And what is it going to look like as I get closer to dying? As morbid as it is, that is the end of the race. And if we knew what day we were going to die, a bunch of this could be a whole lot more data driven and really mathematical, but we don't. And so what that means is that like we want to know like, how do you feel comfortable with your finances? Do you understand that you can take that, vacation to Greece next year if that's what you want to do? Or, like conversely, like going and, buying a new car or a new boat without actually talking to your financial planner, and or a new house. I've heard all of these things happen with some with the planners that we've worked with, and
Mm,
how that'll actually impact the financial plan.
I
Really what we want to do is we want to make it so that you as an advisor are understanding how you're going to be changing those people's lives, and then making sure that they know when to reach out to you too. It's
mm.
more than just like a quarterly report and how your investment's doing. It's about, how is this making your life a better life?
So I think you're saying some things that apply not only to advisors but in most businesses. So what you're trying to tell advisors is you gotta help. You gotta understand your client, their fears, their wants, and where they at the moment. And then second, you gotta look at them as a partner. You gotta be interested in how you are affecting their lives. And I think that's the big differentiator between, company A and company B. Company A talks to
Yeah.
me like he's a friend almost, but he's not. He's my financial planner. And
Well,
company B just
hopefully,
cares
hopefully
about the
they
money
are
and
your friend.
payments. Right?
Yeah, well,
I
when
mean,
it's
at
done
the end of the
right,
day,
it
that's.
is, yeah, you do develop a friendship. There is advisors that I've worked with where they've been the first person that someone who wasn't family got called to the hospital. The
Oh, wow.
role and the place of the folks in, the role of the advice deliverer in in the family can't be underspoken. And at the same time, like, I think that this is true of a lot of the different professionals we work with. Like, I have a mechanic that
Hmm.
I trust and work with regularly, and there is a level of camaraderie that happens there, even though I'm mostly going to see him when I need to have my oil change or something fixed. But still,
Hmm.
it is like there is a friendship and a relationship there to it. And it's just, I think really the underlying point to that, Johan, is that it doesn't matter whether your business is B2B or B2C, all business is H to H. And so the more that
Exactly.
you basically objectify your prospects by calling them leads and thinking about it in just numbers, the more that like that's you're doing a disservice to your long-term client relationship then. Because the thing is that when you're their trusted advisor, and especially like a good financial planning relationship is likely to last decades. And so you want
Hmm.
that to actually be a really good fit, and it needs to be about more than just the numbers.
That's actually gold. Now, let's change a little bit and tell me what is your favorite awareness to consideration pathway that you've seen working in the past few years?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say local service ads through Google. Local service ads aren't available to everybody. There are about 70 categories that Google has done the paperwork and everything else that's paid the lawyers that's required to be able to do this in a compliant fashion. And they also background check everybody who offers themselves on the service too. But the upside
Mm,
is that you are at the very tippy top of search results in your area, and you're also paying for qualified phone calls. The one caution I'm going to give folks is that you want to have someone manage this service for you. One, you're probably paid, $250 to $500 an hour for you value your time. And so if it's taking you 2 to 4 hours a month to actually go through and manage this, that's really doing a disservice to you and a disservice to your clients that you're not helping because you're managing the service. There's also a lot of nuance to it and just making sure that you stick to your budget. And I've had folks
Mm.
who were doing it themselves and came to us and converted over to being a having the service managed for them because they paid like 400% more than they should have. And a part of the reason why is they have so many hats running their business that that's already, brushed in the ceiling. And they didn't have the time to get back to this because it's sort of running on autopilot. So having a team, which we can do for you, to manage the local service ads, and then a way so that when folks call in, that you can make sure to track those calls, listen, and continue to make sure that you can make good business decisions based on how it's working for you.
And I think, yeah, you've mentioned, and I think all the founders and CEOs out there have gone through this of trying to wear many hats at the same time, and you're not doing any of those jobs good because you're trying to, do a little bit here and a little bit there. And, in the beginning, I used to struggle with that. Now I set timers. I do like 25 minutes focus work, 5 minutes break, and I'll do like 25 minutes on one job and one job only. Because before I found myself doing A, B, and C in those 25 minutes, and I couldn't, work on any of those. And now tell me, what is a KPI that you follow or that you look at to ensure one of your efforts is working? So let's say for Google's local ads, what's a KPI that you would determine to see if it's actually being successful or not?
So, I mean, one portion I have to put into this is that it's not going to be about one metric. It's going to be about measuring each step in your funnel. The
Mm-hmm.
approach that we use with our clients is it's 8 stages for the process, but it's actually based off of a larger framework of 12 stages of intimacy and the scientific work done by a guy named Desmond Morris. And he looked at humans from a zoological perspective. And so he looked at what is the weird mating dance that we do. And in his situation, it was absolutely about like intimate relationships and what I like to affectionately call baby making at the end of the equation, because there's no greater commitment in life than raising a child with somebody else. And I think that keeps the table stakes right. But what we've done, and a part of this is through our work with being certified partners as digital marketer, is that we're porting 8 of those stages over into the business world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going everywhere from like, how do you create awareness? How does your prospect engage with you? How do they first start to sign up? What is the actual first time that they're converting? Are they excited? Do they, see why your services are a need to have, not a nice to have? Each one of these steps needs to be addressed. If we're going to be focusing more at the top of the funnel right here, and we're talking about local
Mm-hmm.
service ads, part of it's going to be, what is your average call spend? What is the average quality of those calls? Are you getting refunds for the calls that you should be getting refunds for? Or is Google making you
Nice.
mad? Like our team that does this management, they actually have the ability to pick up the phone and call the team over at Google to get some things figured out. You're not stuck necessarily with just like being blocked at a wall of AI that doesn't really understand what's going on here.
Let's change over to the mid funnel and how you make that painless for some of your clients. So, what does a minimum viable nurture system look like for a 1 to 5 person advisory firm?
Well, I'm going to go back to that website comment and basically, tell me if you or anyone has ever woken up in the morning and said, "Do you want to know what I want to do today to call it to be a successful day? I want to get on more newsletter lists. I want to go and subscribe to a whole bunch of financial planners websites." Like that doesn't do it for anybody. So, what we want to do and what I was talking about earlier, like let's get people to your website, and then it's also make it move from being an anonymous visitor to someone that you know and someone that you can
Mm-hmm.
follow up with. So this is a part of why we do email podcasts or email marketing. It's a part of why we make podcasts and have the audiences that we share with. Is it's about making so that folks turn into a known quantity And then what you can do is you can follow up with them, email marketing is a part of it, but also like use the phone, call them, actually have that be a portion of your actual like set sales process that you do. And here, give me 1 second. We need to adjust. We're getting sunlight on the camera there. That's no good. Um, so to back up just a second, that we want to make it so that folks are moving from being an anonymous person on your website to being a known quantity, having their
Mm-hmm.
email and phone number so that way you can follow up with them. And one of the things on a basic nurture sequence is that you want to send out just a few messages that set the make sure that someone who gets your emails knows what you do, understands your cultural values, and how you've made great changes in the lives of some of your other clients. And that's going to help
Mm-hmm.
them go through the process of qualifying themselves to figure out if they're going to be a good client for you. And that
I
way, when
see.
they actually get to the point of being on the phone with you, they already have watched your videos, listened to your podcast, read your blog posts, whatever it is that you're putting out there, some of that awareness stage stuff. And so they figured out that they know, like, and trust you. And frankly, they feel like they know you as a friend a little bit as they actually get into that
Mm-hmm.
call. And so at that point, it's about assurance. It's about being clear on deliverables, on costs, so that way, as someone steps forward, they understand how they're going to benefit. And it's not so much like, something I learned a long time ago and has been reinforced by a lot of different trainings that I've gone through is that, you know, there is a way to position what I just said. If you do it wrong, you kind of come off like a used car salesman. And that's bad. You want to make sure to not do that under any circumstances. What you do want to do is that you actually want to put you in the perspective akin to a doctor or another high paid professional and a well educated professional, because you are one and you know this. And so when we have folks come to you, we want them to actually come to you, with a list of questions, understanding that they want to use your time well, that if there's costs for that initial stuff, they understand what they're getting for a value there. And if you're giving them those first, couple of conversations for free, they understand where this is going and that you don't
Mm-hmm.
overdo it and be salesy because that's going to turn folks off. And then at the same time, you want to make sure that folks know what you're there to do and what you're there to accomplish and not wander over into the friend zone. One of the biggest things that I think is really important to do this is that you don't start giving them advice from the beginning. What that
Mm-hmm.
first conversation is it's actually are you a fit? Do you want this? Do you want these changes? Not, hey, come and be my client. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you're trying to like build a relationship first without giving free advice. Because then they'll take the advice and go
Yeah.
elsewhere or do it themselves. So you want to
And
like
and
create
so
that.
that's the worst thing you could possibly have happen, Johan. That's the thing, is that if you give someone like basically one of my marketing trainers compared it to like, are you putting a band-aid on a stab wound? The
Mm-hmm.
thing is that the problem is deeper than that, it's more extreme than that, and it requires a professional. It requires a professional who can be paid adequately so they can do the job well. Those are a bunch of the things we're looking for. And if it's $7 to $47 thing, or they're trying to use free resources that are actually salesmen in disguised as advice givers, because that happens a
Mm-hmm.
lot out there. You want to make sure to be avoiding all of these things and just be like, I am here for the long run. I'm here to help you make sure that you are protected, your finances are protected for all of your life. And if your spouse outlives you, we're going to make sure that, she's protected as well. Like those are some of the real things that folks are coming for. Those are the real fears that are keeping people up at night, especially if they're like a doctor or something like that. Because,
Yeah.
those folks they're caretakers inherently, and so you kind of want that same attitude on however you approach it to also show up in your niche.
Now tell me regarding that first, when someone subscribes to someone's page, how many touches and over what time window would you say is a good fit?
I'd say all of these things usually actually involve a triggering event. And that's one of the reasons also why, like, if someone goes through and builds a full thought out digital marketing plan with me, we might be considering running videos on Facebook or YouTube or these other solutions. But frankly, that stuff requires a
Mm-hmm.
lot of thought. And so if all you want to do is put your credit card somewhere and have your phone ring, like that's more in the search engine like zone of marketing. Um, when it comes to actually, can you ask that question again? Just put it back in my head.
Yeah, just talking about cadence once someone
That's
subscribes. So how many
okay.
touches and over what time window would you say is like a good fit?
Cool. So again, it's going to be about what's going on in their lives, and that there's some stuff
Mm,
that happens. There's a school of thought around, is someone problem aware? Do they even know that they have a problem? Are they solution aware? Are they starting to look at, you and your competitors? Are they like, what stage of the process are they in? They're in one of the stages as they actually come to start to like look at your services, but one of my mentors from the Financial Transitionist Institute, Susan Bradley, what Susan says is that, like, and also anecdotal data. I haven't done this as a formal, I believe Michael Kitces has done some of these as formal studies, but basically there is some life condition that's saying, I have the need for a financial planner. And that
mm,
what we want to do is you want you to be positioned as that go-to authority, as that trusted voice when that
mm,
happens. On another front, to answer this in more of a digital marketing front, I believe the studies in the 70s said like 7 to 9 touch points, and I think that we're well over 100 these days.
oh
That
wow.
just due to the volume of how much more messaging we get, how much all of this other stuff's going on, it's much harder to stand out from the noise. And so,
Yeah.
like, it's going to take a while. And that's honestly a part of why I suggest that, you make sure to take them out to lunch, invite them. This is why people have different like sit down times of like, hey, if you're a client and you have friends who might need our services, like I'll take everybody out and I'll pay for all of it. That's one of the ways to actually get in front of that right timing. And I don't think that it's
Mm,
going to be some sort of magic email sequence or specific like ad type or something like that that's going to bring folks to you. What those things do is they bring someone to you who's in those conditions right now. Like part of how I like to think about it is that when someone's working with a person, like it's like this window that's like opening and closing. And no, I
mm.
don't need advice. The window's closed. Oh, I might need it. And it opens a little bit, but they're not really ready. Then it closes again. And that might be when they first start to check you out. And like you want to like when that door is fully open, when they see that you're going to actually probably save them more money than they're spending on you, those are going to be some of the times the folks really want to step forward.
So it's all about timing and understanding your. I mean, each client is different, so
Hmm.
y-
Well, in
there's
same
a
way,
different
like
type
if
of
you go and watch
messaging.
TV, like there's all sorts of car ads or drug ads, other things like that. And one of the reasons why those work in m- those zones of marketing is because it's going to everybody. So it needs to appeal to someone who is looking for a car now. Any
Mm,
car ad that's shown to me right now, I have one that I'm happy with. I'm not looking. And so what you're looking for is someone who is ready for that opportunity. And that's a big part of what we can get out of digital marketing is that these algorithms know a lot about us. They know what's going on with our lives. They know our tastes.
100%.
They know all of these different details. And so by using those approaches, which then makes it so that you have a better setup of what, like right now I'm talking about ads. There's a lot of different approaches, but with an ad, there's an audience, there's a budget, and there's a creative. And that
Mm,
creative, it could be, that car ad on national news, whatever, but you could also have it be something that's really specific and speaking specifically to your ideal client and the problems that you solve best. And then let's have that be the audience that we're pointing it to. And then when you have the right budget to do that, then you start to get the number of exposures higher, and that's going to be a part of what makes this so someone actually steps forward. But if you
mm.
don't know how you're changing your clients' lives, if you don't know why they're staying up at night, if you don't have a good understanding of your brand or your core message, it might be easier to do something that's just like where you get in front of your prospect and like have your personal conversation with them through, in this interview, I'm really talking about LSA ads. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but that is a great way to accomplish it.
And now regarding emails or type of messaging mostly, what's one move the needle messaging that most advisors are missing?
I think there is a hard place in how you're representing yourself out on your
Hmm.
digital presence when it comes to the things that you definitely want to have there for like SEO reasons or also GEO, AEO, like basically artificial intelligence, large language model engine optimization.
Hmm.
That's definitely coming down the line strongly right now. I think there's stuff that like there's search volume, there's repetition, these are the questions everyone's asking a lot, and it's crucial, and you're not going to get ranked if you don't have it there. At the same time,
I
it
see.
doesn't have anything about your personality. It doesn't share
Hmm.
anything about like how you help folks. It doesn't share like your passions at all either. And I think making sure to have a good, healthy blend of this on your
I
website,
see.
on your social media profiles, in what you share, in your newsletters, like either electronic or, if you send out a holiday card, having it be all blended
Hmm.
together so that way folks can see that technical capability as well as the fact that they like you and want to work with someone like
I
you,
see.
and not with a big faceless corporation.
Yeah, and I think that's when, big corps lose their path. And you mentioned it before, where a client becomes a number, just a metric in the system, and not Jake Wagner, who I've talked to plenty of times before. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a big difference. And it makes a difference, not only here, but in, I think, every relationship building. Now, how does 4FP high level bake everything that we've talked in? What's pre-configured so advisors don't have to reinvent the wheel?
Sure, absolutely. So, one of the things just to share with the audience a bit more about what Johan's talking about. If you want to learn about some of our search marketing capabilities and our consulting programs, you can go to 4fp.co, the number 4, F is in financial peace and planning.co. That has everything that we do. And if you go to 4fphighlevel.com, what you're going to find is our all in one communication suite. It does a whole lot more than just
Yeah.
email marketing. It actually has basically every tool that a business, not just financial planning business, what businesses need to strive and thrive in the current like marketing and internet environment. So part of what we do with that is that how we've set up the system is that there's actually a whole bunch of different pieces that are pre-templated email
Hmm.
messages, market like SMS messages, other pieces like that are actually like tuned to what a good financial planning firm should look like. It also comes with about 1,000 hours of pre-set up automations built into it as well. And
Oh, wow.
something I get to share with now that we've actually been working really hard behind the scenes, and now we can also make it so that when someone signs up for 4FP High Level, that they can get both the voice AI, which is an AI that picks up the phone for you, and a conversation AI that has a chat bot that's trained on your brand that sits on the front page of your website. It'll actually like that will be a part of what's included with the setup fees.
No, it's amazing.
It's a turnkey system. I want the people that I work with to be providing financial advice like that or money
Hmm.
coaching. There's different work with all variety of financial professionals, but I want you to be doing your main gig. And then what we're going to be doing behind the scenes is do all of the tech hell, get everything set up so that you basically have something that's really nice to work with. And that includes the AI features these days. And that's pretty cool.
Now, you mentioned 6 types of AI. Which two are your favorite, and which two do you think give the fastest wins that a client can see on their side?
The voice AI, as
Yeah.
well as, I mean, there's an image maker, there's a writing system too, and actually there's enough built into of different types of AI into the platform. The ChatGPT itself has given us a 5% off coupon in perpetuity to everything that we're
Oh, wow.
running inside of here. It's vastly capable. But the two that I think are really can move the needle the quickest, especially if you're
Hmm.
using local service ads, frankly, like have a phone number that's devoted to that. And then when someone comes in, it gets picked up by AI. It says, what problem are we helping you with today? And then, like, basically, if the person has something that you need, says, okay, let's get you scheduled. And if you're
I
not,
see.
then it's like, it doesn't sound like we can help you. And that's a way to make sure to manage those costs and not put the time
Mm,
required onto your employees as well. Other
100%.
one, I think, have the same with the content or the chatbot AI has some similarities to that where it's trained on your brand, it's
Hmm.
answering questions. And then really what I want folks, because we do not want AI providing any advice. That is, don't do it stuff. I mean, there's even if you put in a question into, if a random person puts a question to the chat GPT that's financially based, it will tell you, I am not a qualified financial professional. Please seek out somebody. And that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about here today. So, you know, yeah, each one of these things, as they get tuned to your brand, it's going to continue to get better and better. And there is the ability within the platform to actually have the AI like make workflows for you and make pages and page layouts and other pieces like that. And like each one of them, I've seen them provide great results. I've also seen them provide poor results. So it's about having it trained right in the first place.
Beautiful. And now, what does compliance friendly out of the box mean in daily use for financial advisors using for FP high level?
Well, the main thing that, I think folks need to know is that it's an absence of performance reporting. That there's no place where like something that is a frequent frustration for financial planners and financial advisors in general is that if they try to work with a marketer, all of a sudden they have a new job of training that person in what it means to be
Hmm.
compliant. If you have questions, you should have your compliance professional on hand already. And so just make sure to pass that information through to them. Talk to your compliance attorney because they're going to give you specific answers. And also, regulations and what you can do change and vary state by state, whether you're SEC or locally registered, all of these different factors. So, you really need to actually be someone who can give you advice on your specific situation because there is
Hmm.
no silver bullet for all of these different things, which.
Now, in our previous conversation, we talked about brand butler,
Hmm.
and we talked about how they could walk away with 1 hour with you and brand butler. Can you talk a little bit more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And my first request with that is going to be to have folks reach out and just have a quick meeting with me. If you go to 4fp.agency/Jake, you can get to a half an hour time slot with me, and that's a place where we can start to go through and show how the system would work and work for you. And
Mm,
basically, and the system is being part of the group that's developing this platform as well. And so, what it can be at this point is that we spend an hour where I interview you and we talk about your brand, where you came from, who gets a lot of value out of working with you, who you shouldn't work with, all these different questions that we're running through. And then it's actually a very sophisticated series of prompts and algorithms on the back end to deliver. It takes about 4 minutes of AI. That should actually tell you a lot with how much happens
oh
in
wow.
10 seconds, but it takes that long. It
Okay.
comes out with initially with a brand blueprint and a marketing blueprint,
Hmm.
which are you can then use, and that it's something that is, really like there's a lot to that one page, and you can take it to various parts of your marketing. If there's something that's inaccurate, you can throw it away. You can change it inside the prompt library. But the other thing that it does that's really cool is that when you like different pieces of email marketing messages, there's actually the ability to push it over to 4FP high level and other high level systems. So you can have it make memes, like create logos, write content, all sorts of stuff. And all of this is based off of you sharing deeply about what it is that you do, what you care about, the change that you make in people's lives, and then make it so that that way, at a click of a button, we can have that go and show up as marketing.
I mean, that is crazy to think about. Just, I mean, you mentioned brand blueprint and a marketing plan after a short conversation with brand butler and yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
I'm a brand butler certified coach. And so, a lot of actually, I'd also encourage you to just start the conversation with me. And also, like, I have a whole team where we can also, like, get you connected up with someone who, like, maybe you work with me, maybe you work with one of my colleagues, but we can get this done for
Hmm.
you. And it's a wonderful system. I'm really happy to have it be on board. There's actually some like website redesigns and website builds that I'm doing right now where by having this, it's just made it much easier and faster as well to get to the next stages of the process.
Yeah, so we'll share details on the show notes below so no one misses it. Now, once conversion hits, the real growth engine is advocacy. So turning happy clients into a distribution channel. So tell us, what's the simplest advocacy loop advisors can launch this week? Well, next week is
I'd say
Friday.
the simplest, easiest, and is available for everybody is to do something nice on the same day that your client signed up. The thing is that their sign on date is a date that is special to both of you. And that's what's really important. When I go and I'm talking about this with clients, this is actually two of the last stages of the client value journey. It's the advocacy and the promoter stage, and a lot of the different pieces that come out from different groups. It can be hats and t-shirts and coffee mugs and pens or whatever swag you want, but I think that's just really table stakes. That stuff's great, and there are various ways, and graphic designers can go and make that stuff for you and have it be custom. And though that's good, I think that really doing something that is unique to your relationship with your customer, something that you can put in your CRM and have be special, I think that's really important. And the other thing I like to do when I'm thinking about this is one of the things I was thinking about years ago, and I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we have a lot of independent businesses. And down the street, there's a company called PDX Cookie Co. And their cookies are like hamburgers. If you're watching the video, they're like this. They're huge. It's the only cookie that I have ever split with someone more than once. They're absolutely huge. And the thing is with something like that is that you're putting a good taste in their mouth. You're also not giving something that needs to go on a shelf, have a place, have a spot on a wall, whatever, stuff like that. Because I mean, frankly, like I need to rotate my art because like I have a whole bunch that I like. It's all beautiful. I love it. And so I want to see various things at various times. And so like to me, really what you want to do is have something be like create a sweet moment with someone. And I think that cookie idea kind of encapsulates it. The thing I want to encourage people to not do the holiday season, I think we've all seen it with kids, where they get so many gifts and they just want to open the next package and open the next package and open the next package. And then like, are they grateful to Aunt Vicky because she sent me a whole bunch of like University of Purdue hoodies and shirts and stuff, and I don't live in that state and I don't go there? I don't care. I got to open like 10 packages, but I don't care. Meanwhile, versus that one thoughtful gift. And there's another important, it's a really big detail in here that I've learned from clients I've worked with over the years. And like a client who she'd been sending uh, a bouquet, I think it was a gift basket of some sort, to a local estate attorney for years and years and years, like over a decade. And she sent her clients over to him. No one had actually come back in her direction. And to me, that's a big hint. And there's a lot of big hints in there, but one of them also being that when you do something like give on a holiday schedule, that you're blending in with everybody because it is a gifting season. And so you aren't really sticking out from the crowd. And that person, a family member they have a close relationship with, who got them the like, I don't know, I'm thinking a kid zone still, something like trikes or something like that. But that gift, or the new iPad, I don't know. But that's going to be some of the stuff that really sticks up in the holiday season. There's not enough time, all the rest of it. So I'd say figure out when you're looking at your referral marketing process, how you make it be something that really speaks about the uniqueness of your firm and speaks about the uniqueness and the special nature of your relationship with that client. And then I guess I have one more thing to add, and that is I think there's a classy way to also have referral requests be a part of this in a not so classy way. The not so classy way is a piece of financial planning lore. I don't know exactly how to put it. I'm only 46. I've actually been a part of the financial planning profession since I was a teenager. I was raised in the profession and been participating since then. And there's this I get paid two ways speech. which like it makes a whole bunch of advisors when we start to talk, they're already looking at the ground and like grinding their teeth because it doesn't feel good. And it's like the money's nice to get paid with, but referrals are another part. And that is true. But I think that something I've seen that is far more graceful is that, like, if there's a card in that gift that you're sending or something, have the note inside be personal, be about the relationship, have the cover of the card be cute and speak to your brand. And then just like you can get them off of Amazon of like a little gold star thing that you're going to use to seal the envelope. And it just says referrals are appreciated. That's all you need for the message. And then if they're like, oh, my brother-in-law, he's going to be retiring in 5 years. I really want him to speak to somebody. And you also don't know when you give that if it's going to be 5 years from now that someone actually reaches out. Like my father-in-law is looking at retiring right now, and I'm not sure when I gave him the referral to a friend of mine who's near him in Scottsdale, Arizona, but I did. And in the last week, he reached out, and I had my friend respond back and say, "Hey, I've got him on the books now. Thank you for this referral." And I said, "That's my father-in-law." And he said, "I had no idea. That's awesome." So, that is a part of how you're getting to that full cycle of a client relationship there. And it's really like we don't want marketing to be thought of as just something that happens till the closing call. That's like thinking that dating stops with the end of marriage or it stops with marriage. It does stop at the end of marriage, but it doesn't stop at the beginning. That's for darn sure. Johan, before we were on the call, we were talking about it's my anniversary earlier this week and how did we make that special? The same goes with, and that's that, sign on date, if you so to speak, if we're going to abstract it back over to the client relationship. And, we don't want dating to end. We want to keep the spiciness in our relationship and we want to make sure to maintain that love. And I'd say just use those same principles, the same principles that go into a great romantic relationship. A lot of those same principles, minus, the stuff we leave behind the bedroom door, there's a lot of the same qualities in both relationships. There's just a different decorum when it comes to the business setting.
Now, Jake, one of the things you mentioned and that you've mentioned before is building relationships and making each relationship unique to the client. And the example you gave of a kid getting 20,000 gifts, none of those gifts will be special. He maybe will remember one of them. But I mean, I remember as a kid getting one of the years I got one gift and it was a bike. And it was my favorite gift for like the next 5 years. Years before that, years after that, I would get more gifts and they weren't as special because they were socks or, whatever shirt. But that one time that I got the bike, looking back at it, it was special just because one, I really wanted one. My parents told me if I got good grades, I was going to get one and I got good grades. So it was like a double gift and it was unique to something I was asking for or something I wanted. And I think that's what you've highlighted so far of trying to make each relationship unique and try to build real relationships with each client, not just a
Yeah,
number.
and how can you have that gift that's really like that bicycle where you just said it like that was the gift that was special for years.
Yeah.
That's really, and it's worth the story now. It's such a big deal. There's been times with my family, it wasn't a bike. It was like, I'm a psychology bachelor's degree. So it was a psych toy thing that I wanted to play with, but it was pretty pricey. And I was like, I think it was 2 Christmases and a birthday. I said, no, I just want to like build this up to like, that's actually appropriate. And that was, that gift came to me a long time ago. It's a binaural beat psychology thing, brain training, make you smarter kind of a thing. And stuff I have, it's probably maybe 20 years old now, and it's still some like I use it on a regular basis, and it's something that's really special to me. And that's the same that we want when with your clients in those relationships is how do we have it be something that's really special and creates that cherished moment.
100%. And, it's a perfect setup for the lightning round. So we'll go over
Yeah.
4 questions. And the first one is, what is the most overrated advisor marketing tactic in 2025?
Say using a tool like snappykraken.com where it's a bunch of, yes, the content that they have in there is proven. It's also it's inherently generic because there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different advisors that are using it. And so there's no way for you to actually be able to differentiate yourself from someone down the street. And it also
Nice.
honestly doesn't do email marketing very well. There's no way to like send, like, have different subsections of who you have in there and send stuff out. And
Mm-hmm.
also, like, they tend to push things into your financial planning CRM. And I'm of the belief that you want to have your clients be in your financial planning CRM, Wealthbox, Redtail, whatever have you. And then you want to use something like 4FP High Level for your actual marketing purposes, and just most like have your COI, have everybody in that broader list, and use that as a tool to bring someone so when they come up to the door of being a client, you have a way to address everything for that. And even, holiday messages, other things like that, you should use an actual marketing tool. And then you want to keep tax returns, social security numbers, account numbers in the tool that's like meant for it, client notes, all those things. Keep all of that stuff in your financial planning tool. But I think there's a lot of folks I see who don't use the right tool for the job.
Beautiful. Now, what's the most underrated channel advisors usually ignore?
Right now, I would say that that's the local service ads. Pretty like that is a big one right now, because the thing is, if you're an advisor, you're going to be thinking about groups that have approached you like Smart Asset, like a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
different, like if you download my digital presence map, it'll show you these different online directories that you're a part of. But like in a lot of ways, what Smart Asset's whole business model is to put a link in between you and your prospect, and then make it so the prospect goes and answers these big old questionnaires, and that's great and all, but then all of a sudden you're in competition again, and it's a speed to lead situation where who gets to actually talk to that person the quickest. I think instead of that, if you're focusing on your local area or your niche, depends on how you focused your firm. But like especially if you are working with folks in your local area and helping pre-retirees that are looking at, are they like, what are the retirement numbers like? Oh, Social Security just changed. How that's going to change everything. You can have a full healthy practice doing something like that. And if you're using local service ads, you're at the tippy top of the results. And if you're doing some of those other things, Smart Asset is going to be down in that organic stuff. Other names that they're going to be down
Mm-hmm.
in that organic stuff. And all you just did is put more links in the chain between that prospect and you actually having a real conversation with them. And the more that you can remove that stuff, to me, the better.
Nice. Now, what's one metric you'd watch if you could only pick one?
For what purpose? Do you mean for on the
Uh,
acquisition side of things or on health of the business side of things?
let's do it on the health of the business side of things.
I mean, on the health of the business side of things, a lot of people are going to go towards what is your AUM number. A lot of folks
Mm-hmm.
charge the same as far as that goes. It's a quick way. Like, if someone tells me that number, I can do quick, easy math in my head and know how big their company is. That doesn't necessarily tell me how happy those people are.
Yeah.
So also, like, I'm going to probably want to combine it with like how you charge, because project based can be a part of this as well. And then how many families are you serving, and how many
Mm-hmm.
people do you want to be serving? Frankly, there are more people who need great financial advice out there than there are people who can deliver it. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a problem getting to the size of firm that you want. That's a guarantee. It's about the struggle
Mm-hmm.
that you give yourself to get there. Do you have the right folks like us at the 4FP agency to help you get there? And so, like, yeah, that I think that's about right.
Nice. Now, last question. What's we could do one or two book, podcast, or resource you recommend to advisors who hate marketing, and maybe a personal favorite?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, if you hate marketing, I'm not going to push a marketing book in your general direction. What I am going to push towards you is what it means to be a good advisor and to be a fiduciary. And so, for those reasons, I suggest Financial Planning 3.0. I
Mm-hmm.
produced this book with my father, who is the author of it, and he's had huge impact on the financial planning profession, including what does it mean to be a professional giving advice. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things you might take away from that book, it's not what he wrote in there, but it is a part of what I have between the lines, is that there are folks out there who need your help and they
Yeah.
need your financial advice. And if you don't do what it takes to get to them, they might be served by one of the bad guys. And they might even think they got served by, they might not even understand that. and have a bad experience, and then all of a sudden we've made a problem for someone, an unhappy family, and made it so that the profession has a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
In the realms of podcasts and websites, I'd actually like to encourage folks to another piece that we have. If you go to whatisfinology.org, and it's like fin is in finance, ology is in ologies. So whatisfinology.org. You can also look this up in your podcast directory. And basically, part of what we've accumulated there is wisdom. And what does it really mean to get good financial advice? What does it mean to give? What is the nature of thinking about problems?
Mm-hmm.
Doing like behavioral interviewing. No, motivational interviewing, other things like that. Different like what is the difference between behavioral finance, investment psychology, and phenology? Got to talk with Rick
Mm-hmm.
Taylor about that. And we're coming out with a whole bunch of new content. And this is really
Nice.
about the nature of what money is, what it means in our lives, how do we each individually deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think each one of those is a great resource. And if you do want to listen to a podcast about marketing, look up 4FP in your podcast directory as you finish up this episode, and you'll see some what I've made for the agency brand.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Now let's
Mm-hmm.
land the plane with a few takeaways for our listeners, and then we'll go through the closing. So, two of the big takeaways today were one, from awareness to advocacy isn't just theory. You've created a system, and advisors who blend automation with authentic touchpoints win trust faster and stay at top of mind. Two, AI is moving from buzzword to backbone. Tools like 4FP High Level and Brand Butler show how advisors can scale without losing the personal element clients actually buy into. And three, I would like to add this one, building real relationships with clients, I think was a pretty good touch point and something our listeners can take for their own businesses, not only on the advisors side of things. And now,
Agreed.
Jake, where should people go first? I know you mentioned 4FP.co, but you also have 4FP High Level. You have the Brand Butler and the Brand Blueprint session. So, where should people go first?
I'd say 4FP.co, and then 4FP High Level is linked off of there, as
Mm-hmm.
well as actually our blueprint sessions that you can get as well.
Perfect.
If you go to brandbutler.ai, you can get
Mm-hmm.
some good information there, and you can get started. But also, honestly, the same as you are an advice provider, I think you get good advice for this portion of the process. And so I encourage you to reach out to me or one of the other Brand Butler certified individuals and let them guide you through that setup and getting things started in the right way. And then
Mm-hmm.
after that's started, you can use a whole bunch of those pieces of automation to benefit your own business.
Perfect. So, I'll link the 4FP.co website in the show notes below. And then, everyone, please reach out to Jake. Jake, I want to thank you again for hopping on. I think this was a pretty good conversation. And I want to thank you for making advisor marketing feel doable. To everyone listening, check out 4fp.co. We'll add it in the show notes below. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a quick review, share it with one advisor who's ready to grow smarter. I'm Yohan Mejia. This is the Enhance AI Partners podcast. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Goodbye for now.